Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. It's great to have you in today on a Tuesday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How you doing today on this Tuesday?
Very good. I'm glad we can have a show on Tuesday. Lots of news.
Got a lot of news. The free agency window is opened. Most of the signings can't be put in until Wednesday when the new league year officially starts. But now we're getting an explosion of moves, which obviously we're going to get into a bunch of them today. We'll save the rest for Friday. And we're still waiting on your Kyler Murray prediction to come through, which would be on Friday's deadline. So
Vikings.
Let's jump right into it with the first topic of today's show, which is Malik Willis obviously is headed off to the Miami Dolphins. This was the obvious pick with the familiarity with the Dolphins' new GM Sullivan, as well as the new Dolphins head coach Jeff Hafley, formerly the defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers. So it looks like Malik Willis, as everybody probably predicted, is headed off to the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins decided to release Tua Tagovailoa, take on the biggest dead cap hit in NFL history, over $99 million. We'll talk about him a little bit later on in the show. But it looks like I was right in this case. It wasn't $30 million, which I thought was absolutely absurd. It's $22.5. So my question to you is, overall, do you like or dislike this signing by the Miami Dolphins?
Well, it's $45 million guaranteed, which is quite a bit of money. The Dolphins haven't had much luck with quarterbacks over the years here since Dan Marino. Since he retired in 2000, there have been 11 different starting quarterbacks for the Dolphins. In the mid-2000s, they focused on veterans in the back half of their careers. They had Gus Frerotte, Dante Culpepper, Trent Green, Chad Pennington. Then they tried the draft. They had Chad Henne, Ryan Tannehill, and then Tua. When Nick Saban was hired as the head coach, Jay Fielder, who had been around the NFL with little starting experience, was brought in and signed as a free agent in 2000. Very similar to the deal with Willis, although much less money. Of course, that was back in 2000. When, much less money. But he'd had 10 starts at that point. Willis has only 6 starts in the NFL. Fielder, though, produced a 36-23 record in 5 seasons with the Dolphins, a .610 winning percentage, which is the best of any starter since Dan Marino. There aren't many other examples of free agent quarterbacks with less than 10 starts through 4 years who go on to have a lot of success in the NFL. Guess who the one that's had the most success is, Nate?
Which is that?
Jimmy Garoppolo.
There we go.
He's about the only one. Also, Brock Osweiler. You remember him?
Of course.
He made 7 starts with the Broncos, and then that was after 4 years, and got a big free agent deal from the Dolphins in 2018. Turned out to be a bust. They traded him to Cleveland for a second-round pick. The new general managers you mentioned, Sullivan, and the head coach, Hafley, they know Willis from their time in Green Bay. They watched him play. They watched his 6 starts. And, they thought he was worth 3 years, $67.5 million with $45 million guaranteed over 3 years. I guess, I don't know, maybe some people would say that's not that much for a starting quarterback, but I think it's a little pricey for Willis given his lack of experience.
Whoa.
Last year, his one start, he went 18 of 21, 288 yards, 1 touchdown, plus 60 yards rushing against the Ravens. But it was a loss of 41-24, but put up 24 points. That's not too bad. That game made him, I think, one of the people thought, maybe he can be a top free agent this offseason. It turns out he was. Yeah, I think that's a very good contract for someone with his experience, which isn't a whole lot. I think it was thought that Willis would go to the Cardinals, given LaFleur connection there, but they may have balked when they saw he was getting $45 million guaranteed, or maybe Willis preferred to reunite with his former Green Bay leaders there. Willis, I think he'll give the Dolphins something they haven't had for a few years here as a running option that they really never had with Tua. Plus, Green Bay probably looked at the success McDaniels, these Green Bay leaders down in the Dolphins are probably looking at the success McDaniel had, focusing on a chain in the running game and making Tua more of a game manager. That worked out pretty well. I think they won 5 or 6 games there with that strategy. Willis is actually the same size as Tua. He's 6'1", 225 pounds. Bottom line, he's the $45 million guaranteed for an unproven commodity.
Well, here's what I find a little bit interesting. Now, all of a sudden, $22.5 million is a risk for a quarterback with 6 starts when just a couple days ago you were campaigning for 30. That's what you were saying. You said you wouldn't be surprised if he got $30 million or a little bit more.
That was the talk in the combine.
But you were adamant. I said, no, this is going to be closer to Justin Fields than Sam Darnold. You're like, no way. No, now it's $22.5 million is too much for the same quarterback with the same amount of starts as the conversation before.
Well, it's $45 million guaranteed for 2 years.
Well, yeah, not exactly. So this is a 2-year contract I want to make because the first out is not like any of these other deals where it's a 1 out, like a Stephon Diggs wide receiver or Justin Fields. They're going to get out of him after only 1 year on a 2-year contract. For me, though, it's strictly about familiarity. We saw this coming as soon as Sullivan became the GM and Jeff Hafley became the head coach of the Dolphins. It just seemed like that they were probably going to go for Malik Willis, who would have been available. When Jordan Schultz came out and reported that it is a foregone conclusion that Malik Willis is going to get $30 million, I said there is no way in hell any team who has any shot, or in fact, who is run even decently, will spend $30 million on a quarterback that didn't even get picked over Ryan Tannehill at the end of his career and Will Levis. Will Levis is a backup with no chance to start anytime soon. He's not even considered a reclamation project. It's just he's a backup or maybe even a third-string quarterback. So I thought that was no way. And I said this is more of a Justin Fields type of a contract. It's going to be less Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, and more Justin Fields. But I do want to, put this into perspective a little bit. The expectations with Malik Willis are what? Because it can't be go out and be competitive and win football games and playoff contention and anything like that. I don't even think the Dolphins will sniff that anytime soon for a couple reasons. One, you have a quarterback who is still an unknown. Oh, but what about his time in Green Bay? Can we please acknowledge that the Green Bay Packers are a significantly better run, better coached franchise than the Miami Dolphins have been, maybe in its entirety of its existence? So, of course, a okay quarterback will look really good in a system designed by a really good offensive coach in LaFleur. Now going over with Jeff Hafley, a defensive coach, going over to a team with really only 2 vital assets in Jalen Waddle, who may get traded, was in trade talks last year at the trade deadline, and a running back, Devon Achane, who is basically the offense. You don't have a good tight end. You don't have a good offensive line. In fact, the offensive line is abysmal. You traded Minkah Fitzpatrick over to the Jets. I mean, really, this team is a full rebuild team at this point. So if you're thinking that Malik Willis is going to go out here and shock the world, let's tone it down a little bit. I'll also add on to the fact, and let's bring this up because I do think this is important, the Dolphins have one of the most difficult schedules in the NFL. Find me an opening for any type of win. And we went through this before, where it comes to, find the wins. And really, I think we were being generous. There are 2 wins here, and it's the New York Jets. However, we're going to talk about this a little bit later with one of their signings. The Jets in free agency, they are completely revamping one side of the ball that did nothing last year. their defense. That's basically been all their free agent signings. The Raiders, people are thinking, but they made some really good moves in free agency, spent a lot of money trying to shore up the offensive line as well. They have the 2 first-round picks, one this year, one next year, from the Baltimore Ravens, which we'll talk about with the Maxx Crosby trade. So, yes, is it true that Malik Willis brings a mobility aspect that Tua, unfortunately, couldn't have due to his injuries? Sure. Will that equal vast amounts of success? I can't see it with the roster that's currently built, or maybe what Sullivan could even try to build at least this year. Give it maybe 2027, and then we could have this discussion again. But for 2026, this is going for who's your next franchise quarterback.
I think the one of the reasons for getting Willis is to have some sense of being competitive in these games.
You think Malik Willis gives you a better shot than your guy Quinn Ewers?
You know,
you were campaigning for Ewers.
I was, and I'm a little surprised that they went for Willis, but not. But I guess you say it makes sense because of the Green Bay connection,
of course,
and I think that's true. And the money seems a little much to me, given his experience. I think somebody was pumping him up in the combine to $30 million, which was way more than it turned out to be. But it's probably higher. Maybe he got more than he would have gotten if people weren't campaigning for $30 million for him and saying that was a foregone conclusion. And maybe the Dolphins were worried that somebody out there might try to give him that kind of money, and that's why they signed him quickly. I'm not sure, but I thought Ewers would be okay because I do think it's a tank year for the Dolphins, and rightfully so. They they want to get some good draft picks this year and then next year too, and they won't get so many if they wind up winning a bunch of games. But even with Malik Willis and that schedule, maybe there's 3 wins there. I don't see much more. Two for the maybe the Jets a couple times, and the Raiders. I mean, who else are they going to beat on that schedule? I don't see it. Right? That's a tough schedule.
That's what I'm saying.
Look, it's got Buffalo on there twice. You got the Broncos on. You got the Patriots on there twice. You got the Broncos on there. You got the Colts
Chiefs,
are going to be good.
Lions,
the Colts
Chargers.
will be good. Green Bay will be good.
Packers,
the Vikings will be
game.
good. San Francisco will be good. Chargers will be good. Kansas City will be much better, I think. The Lions are going to be really smarting from not making the playoffs last year. The Bears, they think they can go deep into the playoffs, and who knows, maybe Joe Burrow will be healthy all year, and the Bengals will be good. So I don't see more than 3 wins there at the best,
2.
and they probably split with the Jets. So maybe they beat the Raiders and the Jets once.
Well, yeah,
that's it.
If I'm not mistaken, the win total when we talked about it, and when I said I was betting the Dolphins under, it was 4.5. I'm curious if I can get this up briefly.
I don't know where 4.5 is there.
It's for the Dolphins win loss. Exactly.
I know, but I don't see it where there's 4.5 wins there.
I completely agree with that.
I mean, maybe there's some surprise on any given Sunday.
That's how the
11
NFL
guys,
is.
22 guys can beat any of the other 22 guys, no matter who it is. That doesn't happen very often, not these days.
It's moved up.
What is it now?
5.5.
Oh,
Malik Willis has increased the Dolphins win loss by 1.
Where?
Anyone out there? I haven't put this up.
Where is it?
Find me the 5 wins.
I don't see it.
The Jets, okay, even if you say the Jets sweep and you beat the Raiders, who I think actually could be somewhat competitive. That's 3.
Who else are they going to beat there?
You would need to upset. Okay, if J.J. McCarthy, even then, though, I can't see it.
I don't see it either. I mean, maybe
I may double down and bet the under 5.5.
Maybe the Bengals will tank again with maybe Burrow won't be healthy. I don't know. And their defense isn't going to be
I would
much
love to
better.
know what people think. Where are the 5 wins with that roster, with an offensive line that wasn't that great? With
we should
Devon
bet the
Achane.
under.
I already did.
You bet the under.
I bet it when it was 4.5. I may double down and go 5.5 as well.
Yeah.
Double up my money, maybe, because I can't see 4 wins. I can't see 5 wins. The Patriots just made the Super Bowl, and they just got Romeo Doubs, which I think is a good pick, and apparently they're still interested in potentially acquiring A.J. Brown. The Jets are rebuilding their defense, and they have to. The Buffalo Bills are the Bills. They're going to be good. The Chiefs, I think, we're going to talk about them later. I think they're going to go back to the way we know the Kansas City Chiefs of being.
They're going to have a running game.
The Broncos are a very competitive team, obviously. The Raiders, they'll have the number 1 overall pick. We'll see. The Colts might be interesting. They lost Michael Pittman, traded him to the Steelers, and acquired Alec Pierce. They brought him back. Packers, that's a revenge game, though the Packers are better. The Vikings just have a better defense as well as just more skill position players. The 49ers just got better. Chargers are going to be a great team. Lions are a bad team. Bears and Bengals, they're just better teams.
The Colts are going to be good, I think.
So find me the 5 wins. I personally can't see it.
Maybe I even put a few bucks on that.
It'd be a smart bet. All right, speaking about smart bets, my God, the Ravens. Are they turning their team around, or the Raiders giving up? Although it's weird. You keep some players, you trade away your best player, but it's crazy, though. So I believe it might have been Friday night after the show. News broke and shocked the world after the Raiders were very adamant that they will not trade Maxx Crosby. Shocking. When people give 2 first-round picks, the Raiders listen. The Raiders trade away Maxx Crosby, and I predicted this on the show. There's a report that the Raiders are asking for 2 first-round picks plus a player, and I said, there's no way. Might be a pick and a player, might be 2 first-round picks, but you're not going to get that full haul, and I was right. The Raiders trade Maxx Crosby for Baltimore Ravens 2026 and 2027 first-round picks. So first of all, my question to you is, are you surprised the Raiders would bow down, accept the inevitable, in my opinion, and trade away Maxx Crosby?
No, I'm not surprised for several reasons. One, he's a loudmouth who created a lot of friction within the organization, criticizing the leadership and coaching staff, complaining openly about the constant rebuilding, making a lot of noise when he was kept on the injured reserve near the end of last season, when the Raiders were tanking for the first-round pick in the draft. I think they made I think they made a big haul with 2 first-round picks for him, number 14 this year. We don't know what the pick will be in 27. I think the Ravens are hoping they'll go deep into the playoffs, so it might not be that. It might be lower down in the first round, but that's still a pretty good haul for him. Plus 3, they got off his contract, which is big. They avoided signing bonuses to him. They take on maybe $5 million or so of dead money. They're saving $25.7 million against the cap. They avoid his $30 million salary for 26 and $29 million salary for 2027. His cap hit for the Raiders will be $30,700,000, which is pretty significant. They lose one of their best defensive linemen in the league, but he's only 28 years old. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler. He's had 69.5 sacks since 2019. And that's more than double on anyone produced on the Ravens over that same time span. He wants to play meaningful football games, and I can't blame him for that. And he should get his chance here with the Ravens, I think. He's going to add a lot to their defense. He's a very emotional player, very highly motivated player. He'll be good for their defense, I think. He's only had 1 playoff appearance in his career, and that was in 2021. The Raiders have had 5 head coaches and 4 GMs since then. So it was just a toss and turmoil, and I can understand why he was upset. The Raiders are in rebuild mode, and the top pick, they have the top pick in the draft, plus number 14, and 2 first-round picks next year. So they don't want his noise around there. I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, they know they're not going to the playoffs next year, and Maxx Crosby knows it too. And he's not getting any younger, so he wants to play on a team that has a chance and will play some meaningful games in December. He can't truly be replaced, I don't think, with double-digit sacks in 3 of his past 4 years, and now they have the draft capital to, expedite the rebuild. Crosby will help correct one of the Ravens' biggest flaws: finishing games. The Ravens, they get big leads and then they blow it in the fourth quarter, and they've lost a lot of games that way. He comes up big in the fourth quarter with 22.5 sacks in the fourth quarter, and since 2019, that's 4th most in the league. I think he'll take charge coming off the edge for the Ravens.
Okay, I have to first. Adam, I disagree. Making noise? Yeah, you know why he was making noise?
Yeah, I know why
he was wrongfully
making noise.
benched. He was put on the injured reserve after he wanted to play. How is that making noise in a negative way?
Because the the underlying current there is we want a tank. We want the first round pick.
But if you're a legitimate competitor, you're never going to want a tank.
They're going to get a quarterback who might be a generational quarterback, right? Mendoza.
On that team, no.
Yeah.
On that team,
I think they'd be very happy. You think the Jets would draft Mendoza if they had the number 1 pick?
Doesn't mean he'd do well.
But do you think they would? I think most any team who had the first round pick this year would take him.
Well, yeah,
right?
Obviously, because he's the far and away best quarterback in the draft.
So they might know wouldn't have gotten that if Maxx Crosby been out there and they won 1 game.
Why? They barely won when he was out there.
Well,
that's what a true competitor does. He doesn't want to be benched.
They weren't taking any chances.
So so for that, I completely disagree.
Yeah, but that's not the only noise he made. I mean, he made a bunch of noise.
He made it very clear how he even said in his ending, even in his big statement, that he wants to end his career in the black and silver. So he wants to be back eventually. So I really don't think that's fair. He's saying to make a lot of noise. Well, he's a competitor. He's a very, very good player who, guess what, got frustrated that his team sucked year after year. I can understand that. I do the same thing.
I understand that, but I don't think that the Raiders, with their new leadership, want that kind of noise in the building they got a new head coach, right?
Clint Kubiak, who's an offensive coach.
Yeah.
So you trade away your best defensive player.
Yeah. Well, they're accumulating picks, and they're going to try to build around Mendoza, and that's going to be their strategy. So.
Again, it's the Raiders. They haven't had much success even with those picks. But when it comes to Maxx Crosby and the Baltimore Ravens, this was probably the biggest move that they could have made ever, because I do think this is the biggest impact. When they were trying to find a head coach months ago, it was about, okay, the main message is, how do we get the most out of Lamar Jackson? I just kind of threw it out there. Okay, they're probably going to go for, try to generate 0 points allowed. Because Lamar is such a great player, it was really the defense that gave up, the choke job to start the season against the Buffalo Bills. The Ravens put up 40 points, but I think allowed 43 to Buffalo. That was a really ugly game. It's all about the defense, so I kind of threw around, okay, they're going to have to obviously build the defense and not give Lamar any real talent around them. Because obviously, you already have Zay Flowers, who people have an issue with. I always think he's a wide receiver 1. I think he's a very, very good player. You have Derrick Henry, who's still not a bad running back. You just brought back Simpson from the Jets, so you have another piece on the offensive line because the offensive line wasn't that great. It was really your defense that was always the issue, and the defense kind of went by the wayside with John Harbaugh. And last year, your defense ranked 28th in sacks, 31st in sack percentage, 29th in QB pressure rate, and the 11th slowest time to pressure. And you're getting arguably the best pass rusher in the NFL. So I think this is going to be massive for the Baltimore Ravens. And on top of that, you also hired Jesse Minter as your head coach. So all the Ravens have been focusing on primarily is defense, because they're trying to fill that hole. Obviously, the biggest risk is, what do the Raiders do with those 2 first-round picks? If the Raiders do an okay job, okay, well, then you win anyway. Obviously, this is a win-now thing because you're doing an incredible price for a 29-year-old pass rusher going into his year 29 season. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what the Ravens defense looks like. I don't think there's many excuses now. You have a really good defensive coordinator. We just saw that with a top 5 defense that the Los Angeles Chargers had. Now you have him as your head coach. Bring him back. Actually, he was a former coach for you already. You have one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. You already have a pretty good defensive core. It's just they didn't play very well. Kyle Hamilton, he's a phenomenal player. You have a lot of really good core defensive players. It's just about unlocking them and having them reach their highest potential. Lamar Jackson, I'm sure he'll do Lamar Jackson things when he's fully healthy, but, always there's that sickness through halfway through the year, which is just weird anyway. But him healthy early in the season, maybe the games will be 35-10, and we'll see the Baltimore Ravens absolutely dominate early on. I think you can with the ability of Maxx Crosby, who tried his very best on a franchise that is completely dysfunctional. I think this fits beautifully. If you're worried about noise, clearly Jesse Minter and the historic Baltimore Ravens don't have an issue with Maxx Crosby's noise. And I guarantee you, they're not going to bench him the last few weeks of the season and put him on IR for an injury he didn't think he could play.
That's a totally different situation with the Ravens.
I'm just saying.
He's their best defensive player by far.
So you think the Raiders would have won those 2 games with Maxx Crosby out there, I should say?
I think
the Raiders apparently did.
I think they would have beat the Bills. Right? Wow. The Bills in the first game of the season. Right?
I'm talking about last year.
Last year, right. The Bills against the Ravens.
I'm talking about for the Raiders, because he said he made a lot of noise when he got benched. So you think having him out there,
maybe they would have won one of them. Maybe they would have won one of them. They didn't want to risk it. They wanted the first round pick. I think they made the right decision.
Kept Geno out there, you would have been fine.
And you know what? Maybe they got the 14th pick. Maybe they'll trade down, get 2 second-rounders or something like that, depending on who's available and what team may desperately want a player at 14. They may be able to get more picks. So I think that they made the right decision.
No, I mean,
and I think the Ravens.
Well, yeah, you get a good haul.
I think the Ravens. What did their over/under go to as a result?
What was it before?
Was
it 10.5?
We have the sheet here somewhere. Hold on.
Might be underneath all that. I'll look up there. The wins so far. I believe it was 10.5.
Let's see, Ravens.
And I don't think any team was 11.5. Did I have them in an over/under? Because they would have been highlighted.
Ravens 10.5.
Yeah, they moved up to 11.5.
Wow. Yeah.
I just want to double check this. Them and the Rams. Yes. Okay. So the Ravens and the Rams are the only 11.5 over/under win total teams. Not even the Super Bowl champion Seahawks.
What does the Ravens schedule look like?
I would need to bring that up. Well, you have the strength of schedule. What's their strength of schedule?
Ravens 47, 47%, 48%.
So what's that rank? That's on the easiest scale.
Number 9.
So they have the 9th easiest schedule.
9th easiest.
Okay. Do you have let's mark down wins and losses. Why don't we? Or obviously the division.
Okay.
So Bengals, Browns, Steelers.
They win all those.
Okay, we're doing home teams? Home or away? What do you want to start with?
I think Bengals, Browns, Steelers. I think
let's start in home games. Home games. So at Baltimore for all these. Bengals, Browns, Steelers.
I'd say they win all 3.
Chiefs.
I think they win that one.
Well,
that's at home,
no,
right?
I'm sorry. Scrap that. I was looking at 2027. Jaguars
at home?
Mm-hmm.
First game of the season?
Not
we don't
first
know.
Game of the season.
We don't know yet. They're going to win that.
Titans.
Yes.
Saints.
Yes.
Bucks.
Yes.
Chargers.
Yes.
Okay. Now away. Same teams.
That's only 5 games. Oh, plus the 3. Now they're 8-0.
Okay, well, we have to do the away as well. Bengals, Browns, Steelers.
I say they win 2 out of those 3. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Falcons?
No, I'll say 1 out of those 3. Okay?
Falcons.
Falcons will win.
Colts.
I think they beat them.
Texans.
Maybe they lose that one.
Panthers.
Yes.
Bills.
That's away. I say no.
And Cowboys.
Yes.
So
How
what's
many
your
wins
total?
was that? I don't
You
remember. I think it's like 12.
It's more than 12.
Yeah.
Because your losses were the Texans.
2 in the divisions.
So Bengals, Steelers.
2 in the divisions.
And then Chargers, I think you said.
Yeah, so 4.
So yeah, 13-4.
13-4. So they're over. I bet that.
But again, you have to play into Lamar's going to have a weird injury. There'll be a late game choke.
I think Derek.
We'll see what Mike McCarthy does if he plays Thursday night against his own division. I think that's what it is. It might be Thursday against his own division. Mike Tomlin was incredible at that.
I gave him 1 win against the Steelers. The Steelers get 1 win.
Right. I mean, no, here's the thing. Both teams won in what they wanted to do. The Ravens are in win now mode. Obviously, with a mobile quarterback, your window to win a Super Bowl and maximize Lamar, unless he becomes more of a pocket passer, that window is only shrinking. So now that you have your defense, and defense was the massive issue because, like I said, they were 28th in sacks, tied for 28th in sacks, 31st in sack percentage, 29th in QB pressure rate, and they had the 11th slowest time to pressure. Your window is only going to get smaller. Now the AFC is going to get healthy again. Now, I feel like this is horrible for Joe Burrow, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, down the line because the Bengals aren't going to do anything interesting in free agency. Joe Burrow's going to get killed. Absolutely get destroyed because now he's playing against Myles Garrett, Maxx Crosby, and TJ Watt 6 times total. All those pass rushers twice each. So it's going to be crazy for Joe Burrow. I feel bad for him. But the Ravens, they filled a hole there. The Raiders, who are rebuilding their team, they got 2 first-round picks, so they'll definitely have a nice treasure to deal with.
I think they might trade down on that 14th pick.
I wouldn't.
We'll see who's available.
Yeah. Well, obviously, it might be best player available at that point.
Could be. I would think so for them.
Oh, yeah. Well, we were talking about quarterbacks moving. You predicted Kyler, or maybe Malik Willis, but Kyler definitely would have been one quarterback immediately off the board. Turns out we're still waiting on Kyler. But another quarterback is already off the board, and now it's Tua Tagovailoa. He signs the vet minimum to head over to Kevin Stefanski in Atlanta to play for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, is this a quarterback competition? Who knows? Does he have the starting job? Also, who knows? But after the Dolphins decided to take on the biggest dead cap hit in NFL history, Tua signed a veteran minimum deal, which is about $3 million, I believe, over to Atlanta. So my question to you is, this is actually not one of the teams that we loved. Kind of. I think I may have mentioned it, but we weren't really expecting Tua to go to Kevin Stefanski. It just didn't make sense with what Kevin Stefanski's trying to do, and that's be successful. Now he has a quarterback controversy. It was the whole thing. But ultimately, do you think that this was a smart move by Atlanta to sign Tua Tagovailoa?
I guess it's cheaper than bringing back Kirk Cousins, right? They released Kirk Cousins, so they might be interested in bringing him back. Probably would have been $10 million or so to bring him back, and now they get Tua for, you said $3 million. I thought it was $1.3 million.
It might be 1.3.
It's 1.3 million. So, I think they're hoping Penix can play, right? He's still nursing a torn left ACL. That makes him questionable to start the 2026 season. They turned to Tua as a cheap insurance policy, I think, after releasing Cousins. Tua's been the 25th in the QBR the past 2 seasons, not just last year, which was horrible, but 2 seasons since signing a $112.4 million extension in 2024, which would really make me question why anybody would want him, because he got that big money and suddenly fell apart. He didn't really care. I think it says, do you really care? Do you really want to win? Or you just want to be, having a good time with all that money? Falcons hope he can return to his pre-contract performance, in 2022 and 2023 when he was ranked 5th in QBR. So he was good before he got his big contract, and then he fell apart. Maybe the embarrassment of being let go and the team willing to take a $100 million dead money cap hit because of you would, if he has enough pride to step up and try to play like maybe he's capable of. No one wanted to trade for Tua, so they released him, along with Tyreek Hill and Bradley Chubb. They're setting the stage for a reset this year, or a tank, any way you want to look at that. Tua is an interesting fit for Atlanta. He's left-handed like Penix, which helps keep the playbook consistent, and also the spin on the ball will be the same for all the receivers, whether he's in there or Penix is in there. He's kind of a dink and dunker, which maybe complements Stefanski's offense reasonably well. If Penix is healthy, there will be a competition for the starting job. So I don't know. If there isn't, if he's not healthy, well, down the road, I think there's going to be a competition. If Tua's not playing well, they'll certainly put Penix in there when he's ready to go. Expect the competition, just expect it at some point. I'm sure it's going to happen. Shows the Falcons are not as committed to Penix as Morris, Akeem Morris, and Fontenot were. The new leadership, what do they care? Stefanski, Cunningham, and Ryan, they have no obligation to Penix. He wasn't their draft pick. I don't think this closes the door on Penix by any means, as Tua has played so poorly the last 2 years, and he has his own injury history with the multiple concussions. He's not going to be a running quarterback by any stretch of the way, but neither's Penix, because now he has that ACL to worry about. So I guess I can understand maybe why they did it, but I don't see the Falcons doing much this year with either of those guys at quarterback. I really don't.
I'm on the other side of that. Now, I'll start by saying this. Bad look for Atlanta. Really bad look. Because you went from one guy who has an injury history, but it's not career-threatening, or life-threatening, rather, and then Tua Tagovailoa, where if he gets one really bad hit, probably will retire. So now you have 2 very injury-prone quarterbacks on Kevin Stefanski, who just got, people were saying that he was sabotaging Shedeur just last year. So not a great look to put even more controversy on a head coach, but if we look at the roster and how it's constructed and how the scheme will fit Tua, this is probably the best location for Tua to excel to whatever level is now his new ceiling. Because I do not think he's going to be an all-pro ever. I think he may make one Pro Bowl at the very most. I don't think he is a serious NFC championship contender. But I do think that in the worst division in football, for a roster that's arguably the best roster in football, in the NFC South, I do think that this is a perfect spot. Because think about it. You have an offensive coach, Kevin Stefanski, who I think will generate a very good scheme specifically for Tua, kind of what Mike McDaniel did. And I think that the only difference is you actually have the talent around Tua to have it even more successful than you did with Mike McDaniel, excuse me. Because you have franchise tag Kyle Pitts, you have Drake London, you have Bijan Robinson. Those are three really, really good pieces. I think the offensive line, you're going to shore up a little bit. It had a little bit of a down year, injuries and whatnot. And the defense did a pretty damn good job last year. So I think that ultimately, and the reason why Raheem Morris got fired is because the expectation is you play in the worst division of football, you're expected to do better than 8-9 and especially lose to the New York Jets, who really tried to not win a single game. In fact, their defense didn't even have a single interception. So I do think that this is a great spot because, again, instead of going against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, Drake May, Mike Vrabel, and the New England Patriots, you're going up against the Buccaneers, who absolutely fell apart the last 13 weeks of the season. You're going up against the Saints, who are doing a pretty good job of trying to rebuild their roster and reform, but still young quarterback. We're not exactly sure what Shuck can eventually be. Older quarterback as well. The Carolina Panthers, who are trying to retool some stuff. They got a good couple pieces in the free agency so far. But again, Bryce Young, a quarterback. He was pretty good last year. We'll see what he does this upcoming season. And then obviously, there's you. The Bucs. We'll see what they are. The Panthers. How do we really trust them? The Saints, I don't trust them fully. I do expect them to do well, but I don't trust them fully. When it comes to the Atlanta Falcons, easy schedule as well, great roster. I do think that this is an opportunity for Tua to at least excel to some level. Again, not all pro, not maybe barely a Pro Bowl, but he does play in the worst division of football.
Well, I have the fourth easiest schedule, and it's 6.5 over under. Did it change at all with Tua Tagovailoa, their starting quarterback?
I appreciate the effort. What was it?
6.5.
Tua added 1.
Added 1? I can't believe it.
7.5 over under.
Let's look at that schedule.
That's why. That's why.
465.
You bet this early.
The win percentage. I mean, they ain't gonna beat the Saints. I don't think. I think the Saints will beat them.
Well, I'm saying I would bet the over here. It's an easy. Actually, I would have bet the 6.5 over.
Let's see.
Give me a second. Okay, so let's go home. You want to do division first? Or you want to do the non-division opponents? So we'll worry about the division later.
Just go through whatever the games are.
Okay, Panthers, Saints, Bucks. Again, these are at home.
Panthers, Saints, Bucks. I'd say they win 1 out of those 3.
At home?
At home, yeah.
Bears.
No.
Lions.
No.
Ravens.
No.
Bengals.
No.
How the hell is this a fourth easiest schedule?
Bengals, I'll give them that one.
Okay, 49ers.
No.
Chiefs.
No.
Panthers, Saints,
Yes.
Bucks. Away. Panthers, yes.
Yeah.
Saints, Bucks.
I'll give them 1 out of those 2. 1 out
Okay,
of
we're
the
at
2.
4 wins.
There's 4 right there.
Packers.
No.
Vikings.
No.
Browns.
Yes.
Steelers.
I don't know who their quarterback's going to be yet, but
Currently, it's what's his name?
I'll give them
Will
that
Howard. So that's 6. And Commanders.
Probably. That's 7.
7 wins.
Yeah.
Now, here's why that's a little bit not, fully accurate. We'll have to see, what is down the line.
See who the Steelers have for their
regardless of the
quarterback.
fact, the Chiefs are not going to go 6-11.
No.
The Ravens, I don't think are going to go 8-8. So maybe you are right. Some of these teams,
I think that
the
schedule,
Lions are not going to go 9-8.
Some teams have a bad year unexpectedly, right? Or it's not going to happen next time. Yeah.
I still think you play in the worst division in football. You have a pretty damn good roster. You have an offensive coach, and the defense is relatively set. Now, I don't like some of the off-the-field stuff that's happening now. But I think your defense, in the grand scheme of things, is pretty good. So I do think that the Falcons are going to have a pretty good season. And if anything, the offense will play into Tua's strength because you have a good play action game with Bijan Robinson, who is an elite running back. You have Drake London, a very good wide receiver one who can get open. And you have Kyle Pitts, who's on a franchise tag right now, a prove-it contract, who played pretty well last year. So I do think that there is an opportunity for Tua to operate. And again, I don't expect him to be a Pro Bowler, All-Pro, and for damn sure he's not making those Super Bowls. So I think he'll play a little bit better. Again, I don't have a lot of confidence in him because I don't think he's a great quarterback. I just think he'll play a little bit better than 14 interceptions that he had and got benched for Quinn Ewers. I just think he could be better than that. He was
awful last year.
He was very, very bad. Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to take a quick break.
Poor decisions. Poor decisions out there, too. His QBR was
just watch that Browns game.
One of the worst QBRs.
Oh, it was absolutely brutal. Okay. Make sure my mic's there. We go. We're going to take a quick break, but coming up, we got to talk about it. K9 to KC. We're going to discuss that. That's going to be some hell of a season for the Kansas City Chiefs in 2026 if that signing does exactly hit and Kenneth Walker does what we know K9 can do, as well as return of the prodigal son. Geno Smith has returned to the New York Jets. We'll talk about that right after this quick break.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. Sorry about that. My name is Nathan Harvey. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get back to our show. Let's get back to the next topic here, which is Kenneth Walker heading over to the Kansas City Chiefs. They signed him to a 3-year, $45 million contract after not being able to run the ball really at all the last couple of seasons. Now they get the Super Bowl 60 MVP, which is pretty crazy to believe. Isaiah Pacheco does move on to greener pastures while they get the Super Bowl MVP of just the last year. So, and they also they swapped Matt Nagy for Eric Bieniemy, a running back coach, to also improve their running game as well. So they're really trying to balance out that offense, and they also bring back Travis Kelce on a 1 year. I think it's up to $15 million, maybe up to $18 million for Travis Kelce. He's come back for, I think, a 14th season. So they're bringing back everybody to see if they could go at this once more. So my question to you is, overall, how big is this signing for Kansas City?
I think it's pretty big. I think the Chiefs thought it was really big. They made him a deal he couldn't refuse. 3 years, $43 million with $28.7 million fully guaranteed. That's pretty good for a running back. It's a lot better than Saquon Barkley got a couple of years ago. They're improving the rushing attack with him, I think, and that's a priority for the Chiefs because their running game was just awful last year. They were impressed by Walker's ability to make the dynamic highlights, an ability to make something out of nothing. When the O-line didn't open a hole for him, he found a way to run through it anyway. He had 61 missed tackles. He forced 61 missed tackles last year, and 10 rushes for more than 20 yards each. So that's pretty good. He had the best season of his 4-year career and was a Super Bowl MVP, as you mentioned. He's drafted 41st out of Michigan State in 2022. He topped 1,100 yards from scrimmage and 9 touchdowns in each of his first 2 seasons. He missed 4 games in that span. He missed 6 games in 2024. He had oblique, calf, and ankle injuries. He made changes to his eating and sleeping habits and stayed healthy in 2025. That's interesting that sleeping habits would have an impact on your health. 1,309 scrimmage yards in 2025, 4.6 yards per carry. Both were career highs for him. He had 5 TDs in the regular season, which wasn't so great, but 4 TDs in the playoffs and 417 scrimmage yards, which was fantastic. It was a big reason why they won the Super Bowl. He had 161 yards on 29 carries in the Super Bowl against the Patriots, which was very frustrating for someone like me who was a Patriots fan. But you compare this to the Chiefs running game last season. Historically bad rate of generating explosive runs. They didn't have hardly any. Pacheco did not have even 1 carry for 20 yards. Hunt had 1. The running backs only had 49 missed tackles. So just Walker alone is better than the whole crew for the Chiefs. The enemy's back, as you mentioned. Returns as the OC. Is going to emphasize the run more. I think that will help. And behind an O-line that's above average for run blockers is Smith, Humphrey, and Suama Tara. I can't really pronounce his name very well. Mahomes' reaction to this was, let's go.
Well, I think obviously when you go out and you're the Kansas City Chiefs, right? And you have one down year, and you decide to pluck the Super Bowl 60 MVP away from every other team, I think the NFL was just like, oh, well, here we go again. Chiefs are going to be back. Because if you think about it, the one glaring need for the Kansas City Chiefs, besides receiver, but even then they've won with lackluster receiver talent, is that this offense was incredibly Patrick Mahomes reliant. They never trusted their running game. Matt Nagy never really trusted Isaiah Pacheco or really running back by committee, whether it was Kareem Hunt or the others. It was really just, okay, we don't really trust this running game. So we're just going to say Mahomes. Oh, you just do it all. Superman it, Josh Allen it, try to do your best. And it didn't really work that well. In fact, it didn't work really at all because their running backs combined for 3.7 yards a carry. Kenneth Walker, 4.6. So almost the entire 1 yard per carry disparity between Kenneth Walker and the average of all the Chiefs running backs. Mahomes, through like the first half of the season, was the leading runner. That's an issue. That's a massive issue. So I'll also say this, that Kenneth Walker is going to deal with less stacked boxes, which obviously will make him a more effective runner. I think that this gives the Chiefs offense even another dynamic level where they could operate play action to a significantly higher extent and higher success rate, which only makes maybe Xavier Worthy's production higher. He can get deeper. Mahomes has more time in the pocket because the play action will work. So then Mahomes is going to just send it deep to Xavier Worthy. I think that every part of the Chiefs offense should improve. The defense, I think Steve Spagnuolo will be able to figure it out. They did just get rid of probably their best defensive back, shipped him over to the Los Angeles Rams for a nice haul. So we'll see what the Chiefs do. They got a first-round pick for Trent McDuffie. So we'll see what they do in the draft to see how they could rebuild and retool their offense as well as their defense. That offensive line needs a lot of work, though. A lot of work. So we'll wait and see. But I do think, though, if the Chiefs do fill a hole or two here, then they got rid of Juwan Taylor, who was just a disgrace on the offensive line. Penalties, false starts always, illegal formations. It was really bad altogether. You're going to need to retool that, obviously, and I think that Veach will be able to do that. But to acquire the Super Bowl 60 MVP, who just had a significant big-time playoff run, so it's not like he does really well through stretches of the regular season, and in the postseason, it's nothing, if anything. And unfortunate that we had to witness Zach Charbonnet going down for us to actually appreciate Kenneth Walker. I had him on my fantasy team. Kenneth Walker would go about 90 yards, and then Zach Charbonnet would score the touchdown. I think that this allows Kenneth Walker to do it all, is what we saw in the playoffs, and he can do it at an incredibly high level. So I think that if you're an NFL fan, you're mad because they just got an incredible piece. They filled a massive gap in their entire offense and with their entire team. If you're a Chiefs fan, you're jumping for joy because you got a very, very good piece in a position you desperately needed to enhance already a great side of the ball.
I think you're right about the play action. Nobody was biting on that last year because they knew it
didn't
wasn't
work.
going to go anywhere. They were just going after Mahomes, knowing he was going to have the ball, either throwing it or running it. The Chiefs are 10.5. Did they go up to 11.5 with the?
No. So the only 11.5 teams were the Rams and the Ravens.
So the Chiefs stayed at 10.5.
I'll double check that right now, but I believe so.
They have the fourth hardest schedule.
Yes, they're still at 10.5.
Yeah. They have the fourth hardest schedule. That's probably why.
Under is -125, so it's pretty decent. Bet the under here. When it comes to, I'll just look at this just to confirm, the play action that the Chiefs did, they ran it a grand total. I have drop back percentage here because that would be very helpful here. Yes, okay. So the Chiefs ran play action last year. Out of 43 qualified quarterbacks, 26th. They only ran it 24.2% of the time. And they were not that efficient with it at all.
No.
In fact, Mahomes' passing grade-wise during play action was 28th. Passer rating in that below Michael Penix, Daniel Jones, Davis Mills, Cam Ward, Bryce Young. He was 29th. So they did nothing with play action last year. Mahomes
That's because
was
nobody
not
was
good.
biting on it.
Right.
They knew he wasn't going to hand it off.
Yeah. So, I mean, the play action was just really bad. Now you add that whole other element to your game.
That could make a huge difference.
I have to look at the odds here, but Chiefs Super Bowl,
Really?
it's a decent bet.
Wow.
Absolutely. 100%. If we're worried about the wide receiver core,
They
they
lost
already
Trent
won.
McDuffie.
They're gonna figure out a way to fill that hole.
Yeah.
We just can't have Chris Jones disappear. I think that's the biggest one as well. You can't have Chris Jones just vanish into thin air throughout the season. So we'll have
He's
to wait and
getting
see.
older.
I agree. That's why you have to draft defensive linemen, offensive line, stuff like that. All right, let's get to our final topic of today's show, which is this broke, I think today actually. They were going to release Geno Smith, but the Jets said, you know what, hold on. We'll send you a 6th-round pick for him. They were so adamant in acquiring Geno Smith that they didn't even want him to reach free agency. They traded a 6th-round pick for Geno Smith to come back to the New York Jets. And supposedly, they also might bring in Carson Wentz to be the backup. Frank Reich special over there. So my question to you is, what do you think this move means for the New York Jets in 2026?
I don't understand it. I mean, they were worried the Vikings were going to go after Geno Smith. Well, the Vikings have a choice of Kyler Murray, Aaron Rodgers. They already have McCarthy. Were they really going after Geno Smith? I don't think so. But he's going to make his triumphant return to the Jets after a 9-year absence. Instead of waiting for him to be released, the Jets gave that 6th-round pick and 26 and a 7th round in 2027 to get him. They wanted to make sure they got Geno Smith. He was a starter for the Jets 2013 to 2015 until he was punched by a teammate and fractured his jaw in a dispute over $600. It showed a lot of leadership in that situation. I think he's grown up a lot since then, though. He completes a full circle now, as he said, complete full circle moment back where it all began. Smith has agreed to renegotiate his contract, as well he should, with the Raiders eating the majority of his 2026 salary. So I don't know what he's going to get paid, but they could have had Kyler Murray for $1.3 million. So I'm not sure why they didn't do that. Before the restructure, the deal had 2 years, $66 million, with $18.5 million guaranteed. So I don't know. I think he's going to be making more than the veteran minimum. He's going to get paid most of it from the Raiders, but I do think that the Jets are going to pick up more than the veteran minimum for Geno Smith. It must have been. Who's the OC now? Frank Wright must have been the one that said, "I don't want Kyler Murray. I don't want him for some reason. I don't know why." If they waited for him to be released, as I said, he could have been had for the $1.3 million, but they were worried about competition from the Vikings, and I just don't think that was there. They expected. I think they'll probably release Justin Fields. He's got 1 year, $20 million left on his contract. They also have Brady Cook and Bailey Zappi. I don't know how he winds up on their roster, but they got Bailey Zappi too. But I think they, as you said, they'd probably add Carson Wentz too. That would be interesting. Smith could be a bridge to the 2027 draft, which could be loaded with blue chip prospects. They could draft a quarterback this year, not with the 2nd pick, I don't think, but they have the 16th, the 33rd, and the 44th pick. So maybe they pick up a quarterback in the draft as well. He's coming off one of his worst seasons. He was 27th or 28th in qualified passes, had a QBR of 34.1. He led the league with 32 interceptions over the past 2 years. He was a 2nd-round pick in 2013. He started 29 games for the Jets with 34 interceptions. He's set to be the starter in 2015, but as I mentioned, he missed several weeks with a broken jaw after being punched by linebacker Eno Kualapali in a dispute over $600. The Jets then turned to Ryan Fitzpatrick, who had his best season of his career in 2015 and also played in 2016. Smith, he wound up the backup for the Giants, the Chargers, and the Seahawks before becoming the Seahawks starter in 2022. His best season was 2022, where he had 30 TDs, 4,282 yards. Went to the playoffs that year and made the Pro Bowl in 22 and 23, but his play has declined since then. Looks like the Steelers and the Vikings are the only two possible landing spots for Kyler Murray now to be a starter. He can be had for the 1-year veteran minimum of $1.3 million. I think that's a deal. It's reported that he prefers the Vikings. That makes sense, right?
I would agree with that over the New York Jets. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hell no, the Steelers. No, absolutely not. I like the story, right? I like the story because it's old quarterback, redemption, going back to his old team. This would be a story that I would enjoy. Phillip Rivers coming back. Tom Brady unretiring. Rodgers, if he makes a deep playoff run, I would enjoy that story. Him making the playoffs was a nice story, even though I had zero faith in them. I like these types of stories. Geno Smith to the Jets. Does that add anything? Because what's funny is this is not a situation where you're bringing him in to mentor anybody. You're bringing him in as the reported starter for 2026. Now, we talked about, okay, the Vikings want competition for J.J. McCarthy. This would have been a perfect example of that because Geno Smith is not a good quarterback. He was god-awful. And I do find it interesting now the Jets are retooling their entire defense. Their entire free agency has basically been all defense. A number of older guys, but still, though, they're focusing a lot on defense. So they're trying to rebuild their entirety of their defense and leave the offense what it is, which is a barren wasteland. And it's only getting worse because they just lost John Simpson, their offensive guard, to the Baltimore Ravens. He returned back to Baltimore. So I think the offense is going to be terrible. I do think that Breece Hall may get traded. I think he's going to demand a trade again at the deadline. I don't think this team is going to go anywhere. I really think that this is maybe Aaron Glenn saying, hey, this year I'll figure out the defense. The defense will look good. The offense will be next year's issue. Just please keep me around. Because if Aaron Glenn's going into 2026 with this offense, thinking that Garrett Wilson, Mason Taylor, and Breece Hall are going to save them, and Geno Smith is going to lead the way in the gangrene, hell no. Absolutely not. Especially with the 21st easiest schedule, which is this. Again, let's play the game of find the wins. Let's do division. You're not winning really any games in the division. Maybe the Dolphins, because the Dolphins are god-awful. But if we think about it, you think there's
maybe
three
there's
wins. Three wins.
Right. The Dolphins, the Titans, and the Cardinals. Oh, that's away. I'm sorry. That's away.
Cardinals are not. First of all, the Cardinals are going to beat them. Jacoby Brissett is going to be their starter. The Cardinals are going to the beat them. Titans is a revenge game for Brian Day.
Maybe there's only one
Robert
win
Saleh.
there away. One win away at home.
Here's the thing. I like the
maybe
Browns. The Browns are doing something
Maybe there's
interesting.
2 wins at home. That would be...
well, Geno Smith gets to go up
3.
against the team that he wanted to go to at home.
But my feeling is that Geno Smith is in the exact same situation he was in with the Raiders, right? They had no offensive line, and now they still have no. He's going to be the Jets are probably maybe even worse.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he threw all those interceptions under pressure.
No, it's going to be.
It's going to be another big interception year, I think, for Geno Smith. If I were him, I guess he's happy to go somewhere where he can be a starter, but it's going to be. I think it's going to be ugly.
Oh,
I really do. I think it's going to be ugly.
Well, you might bring Carson Wentz in.
I think the New York sports, I haven't been listening to the fan, but man, they got to be upset. They got to be upset about this.
Well, I also think that, and by the way, the Jets also lost Elijah Vera Tucker to the New England Patriots. I don't know if you knew that, but the Patriots got a phenomenal guard, which means that Jarrett Wilson's going to move from guard to center after they just lost Garrett Bradbury, which I don't love at all because Jarrett Wilson should not even be near the offensive line. So Will Campbell gets a shot at left tackle. They secure the guard position. The center position is still a big scare.
Maybe the draft is going to be all offensive players.
Well, for the Jets, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because they have a lot of draft capital. They have the 2 first-round picks this year and next year for the Indianapolis Colts. They have their own first-round pick, which is number 2 overall.
Offensive lineman.
But here's the thing. Everybody has in a mock draft the Jets at number 2 drafting an edge rusher.
Yeah.
Do they trade back a couple spots to get a better offensive piece and get a haul.
Well, don't they have four picks in the first round?
I think over the next 2 seasons.
Oh.
I don't know if it's over 1 season. I do not think they have 4 first-round picks. There's no way the Jets have 4 first-round picks. They have pick number 2 and 16 in this year's draft.
Okay.
And next year they have the Colts in their own.
Okay, so there's a 4.
So I think they'll move back a couple spots, get maybe a third-round pick to add on to, maybe moving back 6 spots. So you go from, 2 to 9, 2 to 8. And you can get a really good offensive piece. And then I still think Mekhi Lemon, wide receiver, I think that's a great piece for the Jets at 16. Because they need to figure out their wide receiver room, obviously. You want to make Breece Hall happy because he's currently on a franchise tag after he demanded a trade last season. So he can't be very happy. I think that this is going to be another bad season for the Jets. We're going to have my brother on eventually to talk about this situation. I haven't spoken to him recently, so I don't know his reaction on this.
I can't be too happy about Geno Smith being the starter.
I think maybe, the Carson Wentz thing. I really have to, pick his mind when it comes to this because I just don't think it's going to be a good season for the Jets whatsoever. Yeah, they got Minkah Fitzpatrick. Yeah, they got a lot of veteran pieces on defense. I respect that.
Maybe
Mario.
What is their over under?
5.5. That didn't move.
We didn't see that. Maybe
I bet the under. I bet the under already.
They're thinking they're going to have a fantastic draft and have some Rookie of the Year player out there.
Hell no. Who?
The edge rusher, the second pick in the draft.
Here's the thing. You're signing all defense anyway. Why would you draft defense too? If that's your whole thing.
That's what they say.
If you're spending uber amounts of money on defense.
Edge guy, number 2.
Reese, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're buying defense, draft offense. Because you're buying the defense already.
I think maybe they look at it best available player at number 2.
Well, and that's Caleb Downs. I know Reese is a decent pick. I would say Caleb Downs is probably the most pure prospect. Again, that degenerative ACL thing, I don't believe that for a second, by the way. I think Caleb Downs is going to be a fine piece. I think the Giants should probably draft him as well because they're losing on some big time. They signed Greg Newsome today. I think that's a fine pick, a defensive back. I do think, though, some of the losses, they lost Cordell Flott, which is a big loss. They missed out on Reek Woolen, who signs with the Eagles. After the Eagles lost a couple really good guys. I think the Eagles lost Reed Blankenship, their safety. So they're losing a few guys. Yeah, they're losing a few big guys. They lost Nakobe Dean already. Supposedly Jalen Carter. He's not on the move now, but apparently, reportedly, I saw a report they could be listening to offers for Jalen Carter.
Really?
Supposedly.
Wow.
They did sign Jordan Davis. He's the guy that returned that big kick when I had Eagles -3, and it was they would have kicked the field goal to either win or cover the point spread. And Jordan Davis ran it back. Was at 60-something yards against the Rams.
Yeah.
Yeah, they signed him to a big time contract extension as well. Free agencies. Here's the thing. The new league year hasn't even opened yet. It opens tomorrow. And we've had a bunch of moves already. So we'll see. Apparently, the Bengals posted on social media. So just to wrap this up, Jets are going to be terrible. We agree? Perfect. Okay. Bengals posted on social media.
5.5.
5.5. I already took the under on that. That was actually one of my official over-under.
I'm going to bet that one.
Here's the interesting thing. You win money if you bet the under 5.5. That's plus 100. So you double your money there. The over is -120. That's gross. That is gross. The Jets are favored to go over 5. I know how difficult it is to be that bad, but it's the New York Jets. They had Aaron Rodgers who went 5-12. Wow. Zach Wilson went 7-10 twice. So that's really bad. Bengals posted it on their social media, I think yesterday. Per NFL policy, no moves could be official until Wednesday. They haven't done anything besides saying that we're not franchise tagging Trey Hendrickson. They're going to be terrible again this year. No offensive line. Defense is going to get substantially worse.
They're counting on...
You're going up against now Maxx Crosby.
They're counting on Burrow and Chase and Higgins.
They've been doing that for years.
Yeah, well.
Hasn't worked. Duke Tobin and Zach Taylor. This is the last year for both of them. There's no way they survive another 9. Here's the thing. 9.5 wins for the Bengals. If I'm not mistaken, I already bet the under on that just because I looked at this. Yeah, I bet the under. It's nearly money. It's -110 when I bet it. I can't see any opening for the Bengals to be, uber successful in that division now, adding another pass rusher like Maxx Crosby. 9.5. I can't believe it. I really can't. We'll break down all of this, though. It's going to be really interesting to see what free agency happens. We'll talk more about some of the moves. We got to talk about Mike Evans to the 49ers. That'll be coming up soon. Mike.
3-year deal.
He thinks he still has it left. Here's the thing. He was ready to retire last year. He was debating retiring or returning. And now all of a sudden he's signing a 3-year deal. Michael Pittman gets traded to the Steelers. I was shocked by that. I predicted Alec Pierce, $80 million for 3 years. He gets 114 for what, 3? 4. Which is, again, I said he's a good player.
Still not $30 million a year.
But
right?
We talked about this value versus Stephon Diggs because the Patriots were interested in Alec Pierce. We talked about value. Is Alec Pierce better than Stephon Diggs right now? I said no. Value-wise, yes, because he's a younger player who I thought may cost a little bit less.
Had the most yards, right, in the last 2 years.
Yards per completion, I think. Yeah. Well, that's because he's bombs away.
Yeah.
And he's making a bunch of money.
He catches those.
Well, now he has to be wide receiver 1 because you just trade away your wide receiver 1 over to Pittsburgh.
And the Patriots got Dobbs.
Romeo Dobbs. And apparently you're still interested in A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
I told you. You got to replace him somehow.
I mean, the Eagles have lost some people, right? Blankenship's a loss.
Yeah. No, Eagles have lost a decent amount.
They lose A.J. Brown.
Seahawks have lost a decent amount of guys. They did sign Rashid Shaheed, which is obviously a great pickup. But losing Reek Woolen, losing a couple guys on the defense, that's obviously going to take a big hit. We'll see what they do going to next year. The 49ers, they acquire Mike Evans. They're giving away Brandon Ayuk after he basically quit on the team. It'll be interesting to see if any team signs him this year.
What a mistake they made with him.
Again, I thought the money he was asking for was ridiculous. He gets a decent amount of money.
He got a lot of money for doing nothing.
He gets certain quits.
He didn't even play.
It's a really, really bad look. And again, that's the Niners, though. You get hurt always. So for me, when they talk about, the 49ers were so banged up this year, they're always banged up. So that's why I can't use that as an excuse.
They don't have Salers at DC this year. I think that could be not good for them.
Did they bring Raheem Morris? Is he the DC there?
Raheem Morris is the DC for the 49ers. Yeah. I don't think he's as good as Salah.
Well, yeah. Also, we have to add that Matt Eberflus also joined that staff. He just led one of the worst defenses over in Dallas. Yeah. Bad luck. All right, well, that wraps up today's show. We thank you for the constant support as always. We'll be back Friday to discuss more of the free agency moves, and obviously, we're still waiting on your Kyler Murray prediction that he'll be signed by Friday over to the Minnesota Vikings. I can't see that. If they were thinking about Geno Smith, the fact that they were that close, the Jets really thought the Vikings were that interested in Geno Smith.
I think anybody who would not, in the Vikings situation, who wouldn't pick up Kyler Murray for $1.3 million is crazy. I don't get it. Why not? It's worth a try. He's had 87 starts, 2 Pro Bowls, went to the playoffs once, had some really good years, and he had injury issues. Maybe getting beyond that. So the 49ers have a great receiving core. The guy can throw the ball. I'd say, why haven't you gone and got him? He wants to be there. Pick him up. Come on. Let's go.
Because Kirk Cousins is the better option. Kirk Cousins is the better option.
Kirk Cousins is old.
He knows the system.
Kyler Murray, if he had a great year at 28 years old, he could be a future He could be their future quarterback.
You think he's a franchise quarterback?
He could be. Yeah, he was number 1 pick.
Yeah. He was a
rookie of the year. He was a rookie of the year.
He was in high school when he won that, I'm pretty sure. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah, it was a while ago, but, he's got to be motivated, too.
Last time he had a winning season,
Any quarterback, anybody with any character or any self pride, who gets released and the other team picks up a ton of money has got to be motivated to say, you know what? They're eating that money and it's going to taste really bad because I'm going to have a great year next year. And so he's motivated. I just don't understand why the Vikings haven't taken him yet.
Well, Friday, you made the prediction.
Friday, we'll be talking about it.
We'll see if that comes through.
Okay.
All right. For this episode of the Harvey Hour, my name is Nathan Harvey. That's been Stephen Harvey. We have been your host of the Harvey Hour. By the way, this is the first episode of season 6 of the Harvey Hour.
Oh, boy.
4 years in, 6 seasons. It's great to be here with you. Oh, yeah. So we'll see you Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
Night, Grandpa.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.